10,
My brother.
9, 8,
We forget where we come from, we risk getting lost.
5, 4,
These words were penned by a 16-year-old to his younger brother, who is yet to learn how to read. Peace be upon you all, and welcome back. Among the lines of the letter written by Endrick Felipe, the Real Madrid professional, to his brother are the following. In this letter, Endrick presents the history of his family as a gift. Mother eats old cornbread. Father sleeps under the ticket booth. Mother cries in the bathroom. Father cries on the couch. His father posted videos on YouTube. The story of Endrick, the boy who wanted to play football to save his family from hunger. But before that, I must renew my thanks and gratitude for your continuous support of the channel, and let's never forget to stand in prayer for our family in Gaza. So, who is this new Real Madrid professional, the teenager, the child who only entered the Santiago Bernabeu through the Brazilian national football team, and participated in the match where his team drew 3-3 with Spain? Scoring as a teenager. Everyone is wondering, who is this boy who was signed by Real Madrid for $70 million? Who is this sensation who scored against England and Spain before turning 17? Here is Endrick Felipe's story, compiled through in-depth research, reading about his personal history, his career as a player, his tactics, and everything else, especially for you because I see him as the next Pele. I've watched videos of Pele and videos of Endrick. They have almost the same physical build, the same skills, or the same spirit in their skills. I saw Pele in the videos I watched long ago about Brazil winning the World Cup with Pele. So, Endrick Felipe Moreira de Sousa is the only player in whom you can see the spirit of the football legend Pele in his features and the lines of his muscles. If you don't know Pele, stay with me until the end of this video, where we will learn about the transfer of the century for Real Madrid and the child whom Florentino Perez sought to sign early at the age of 16. Endrick, his family, his upbringing, his social life, and his unnoticed brilliance on the field. Being the first athlete in history to win titles in all categories, he is the first player in history to win titles in all categories: under 11, under 13, under 15, under 17, under 20, and professional. As one of the great talents of the youth categories at Palmeiras, Endrick joined the club in January 2017 at just 10 years old. Despite his young age, the boy quickly stood out with his technical quality and ease of scoring goals, winning 2 important titles with the Brazilian U11 team, the Paulista Championship and the Palmeiras Japan Cup. In the following years he continued in other categories and won awards again for the greatest champion in Brazil. Paulista U13, U15 twice, U20, the Nike Cup U15, the Mito Hollyhock Cup U13 in Japan, the Brazil Cup U13, the Gold Cup U-13, and the São Luís Logi Cup U13. In addition to the Montaigu U-17 championship for the Brazilian national team. Is this too much? All this before turning 10 in 2022, when he was only 15 years old. At 16 years, 2 months and 15 days, Endrick became the youngest athlete to play for Palmeiras in history, surpassing Rodrigo in 1996. Moreover, by scoring his first professional goal against Atletico PRG at 16 years, 3 months and 4 days, Mbappe also became the youngest Brazilian from Palmeiras to score goals, surpassing Hector in 1916. The Verde striker is also the youngest player to score a goal in the group stage of the Brazilian Championship. People laughed at me because I introduced myself as Endrick the striker. Well, they said, what a cute child, but brother, I was sure I could do it. And our mother still cries when she remembers this moment. She always said that words have power, and they came true. He debuted with Palmeiras at 16, and has already signed with Real Madrid. He is the youngest player to be called up to the Brazilian national team since Ronaldo the phenomenon. The story of Endrick, the child who wants to conquer the world.
10, 9, 8,
The young striker from Brasilia moved to Sao Paulo to play with Palmeiras. Videos began to appear on the mobile phones of many Brazilians. A 10-year-old child, still thin and short for his age, dribbled past many opponents and scored goal after goal in children's tournaments in schools in Brasilia. Douglas Ramos Sousa, the boy's father, realized he had a miracle at home, and soon he started trying to transition from videos on mobile phones to the eyes of the world. The 16-year-old player, the new football star who shone at Palmeiras under Abel Ferreira, also became the youngest player to be called up to the Brazilian national team since the era of Ronaldo the phenomenon. At just 17 years old, he was born in July 2006, signed a contract with Real Madrid, and played his first match against Arsenal a few days ago. Endrick signed a 6-year contract with Real Madrid, starting in July 2024. Endrick's story is one of a teenager who lived in extreme poverty and, through his skill, began to carve his path to fame and stardom. He played his first match with his local team at 10, showcasing his innate ability to control the ball and score goals. At 13, he moved to play with Palmeiras' youth team, where his remarkable performance caught everyone's attention. He won numerous championships and titles, leading major European clubs to compete for his services. After several offers, Endrick chose to join Real Madrid, the team he had dreamed of since childhood. Endrick is a living example of determination and perseverance, representing hope for many young people in Brazil who dream of reaching the top through their talent and hard work. His role model has always been his mother, who worked hard to provide for the family's needs. His father always encouraged him and stood by him in every match. Endrick's story is one of a family that struggled and sacrificed to achieve their son's dream, and today, they all live proudly with his success and achievements. In the end, his letter to his brother is a constant reminder of the importance of family and roots. Regardless of success and fame, Endrick remains loyal to his family and holds on to the values he was raised with. For him, this is the true meaning of success. In his deeply personal letter to his younger brother, which we'll explore now, Endrick set 6 goals for himself and shared the following. It was exhausting, but the rules of the street were clear. If you kick the ball, you go looking for it. I was obsessed with the 2013 to 2014 team featuring Cristiano, Modric and Benzema. One reason we were so good was that if the ball rolled down the hill, the player who missed the goal had to trek down to the poor neighborhoods below to retrieve it. The kid would run and pass, and if he missed the target, he had to run even further to get the ball before it reached the bottom. Endrick's goals since he was 13 and his message to his brother are filled with emotion. I love you. That's the first thing, above all else. From day one I felt we had a very special bond. I never told you this, but on the day you were born, it seemed like you were waiting for me to score a goal before you'd come out. It's true, brother. I was playing an important match at the time, just 13 years old, and you didn't want to leave your mom's belly. The clock kept ticking, and Mom and Dad wondered what you were waiting for. Then suddenly, Dad received a phone call from a friend at the game. He shouted, Douglas, Endrick just scored a goal." At that exact moment, all that could be heard in the hospital room was your arrival. When I got to the hospital, I brought you a birthday gift. I didn't have money to buy a toy, but I brought you the golden ball I won in the championship. Did you see? In our family, we weren't born with a silver spoon. We were born in the birthplace of football. The truth is, that day I saw Dad crying on the couch. I think it was the first time I realized our situation wasn't easy. I remember being a little hungry before bed, like I could really eat. So I asked Mom if there was anything, and she said, "Go to bed, Endrick, hunger will disappear. I want my own house in Madrid with an office so I can put up my big board with my goals." Mom still doesn't let me put a board up in her house. I don't know when you'll read this letter, but you're 4 years old now, and our lives are changing so fast. In the coming months I'll be heading to Spain to play with Real Madrid. Yes, the team I always choose on PlayStation when you watch me play.
10,
I know the world will want to know our family story. And it's a crazy story, brother. So this is my chance to tell you how it all happened, with Mom and Dad here to help me.
3,
As you know, in our family, everything always begins and ends with the ball. Mom says that when I was a child I never went to the toy center like you. If they gave me a toy, I'd keep it for 5 seconds and then put it back in the box. All I wanted was ball. A ball of string, a sock ball, a basketball. It didn't matter. If it was round or even square, I'd want to kick it. I slept hugging it. It's in the blood, brother. You can ask Mom how I introduced myself to people. And what's your name, boy? Endrick Felipe Moreira de Sousa, forward. People laughed at me, okay. What a cute kid. But brother, I was serious. I was sure I could do it, and Mom still cries when she remembers that. She always said words have power. Back then we didn't live in a fancy apartment like we do now. I didn't have a fridge full of yogurt you love so much. We lived on top of a hill, in a place called Vila Guaira, and life was different. You'll hear all sorts of stories about us from other people in the coming years, and they'll say it was all pain and suffering. But the truth is, I had a wonderful childhood, thanks to all Mom and Dad did for me, and of course thanks to football. I don't think I've told you this before, but when you were around your age, our street was on that hill. We used to play football there with everyone in the neighborhood, and one reason we were so good was that if the ball rolled down championship. Did you see? In our family, we weren't born with a silver spoon. We were born in the birthplace of football. The truth is, that day I saw Dad crying on the couch. I think it was the first time I realized our situation wasn't easy.
6, 5, 4,
I remember being a little hungry before bed,
1.
like I could really eat. So I asked Mom if there was anything, and she said, "Go to bed, Endrick, hunger will disappear. I want my own house in Madrid with an office so I can put up my big board with my goals." I don't know when you'll read this letter, but you're 4 years old now, and our lives are changing so fast. The couch. I think it was the first time I realized our situation wasn't easy. I remember being a little hungry before bed, like I could really eat. So I asked Mom if there was anything, and she said, "Go to bed, Endrick, hunger will disappear." It was exhausting, but the rules of the street were clear. Who kicks, searches. I really miss those times when I was a child and football was just a game, when friends would sit and talk. It's a review, isn't it? I really wish we could relive those times together, brother. When I think about it, I feel happiness and sadness at the same time. Beautiful memories from a time I know we won't get back. We always lived on the edge. Dad says I sat on the sofa and told him, "Don't worry, with football I'll give us a better life." Before that day I was just a kid and football was just a game. After that day, football became the path to a better life. A few weeks later, I went to Sao Paulo to train at the Palmeiras Academy, and wrote my first goal: improve our family situation. Setting goals is crucial in my life. It's my way of talking to God. When I went to Palmeiras, I knew I'd at least get 2 to 3 meals a day at school and training. But for Mom, unfortunately, it wasn't that simple. She left her life behind to support my dream in Sao Paulo. The club had only one spot for me, but she said there was no way I could go without her. Dad stayed in Brasilia, working to send us money, while she came to live with me in a small house with some of my friends. All under one roof. But when we went to training, Mom had no one to talk to. There was no TV or internet at home, so she took the Bible to the park, sat, and talked to God alone. The only thing she had in the house was a chair. She'd leave her bag on it, and when we went to bed she'd sleep for a while on the mattress on the floor. I know it's hard for you to imagine your mom sleeping on the floor, but that's the truth. That's how it happened. Sometimes Mom literally counted her last few dollars. Dad kept sending money, but at that time there was no money transfer app, so the money took a day or two to reach the account. On good days, when there was enough money, Mom would cook sausages for the other kids. But most days we could only eat by ourselves, and she felt terrible while preparing food at home, because the boys would smell the meat cooking and ask if there was anything for them too. What could she say? There was nothing left.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
In fact, it was so painful that she stopped cooking altogether. I remember there were moments when I was a little hungry just before bedtime, like I could eat. So I'd ask Mom if there was anything and she'd say, "Go to sleep, Endrick, hunger will go away." And sometimes when we were in desperate need of money, Mom could borrow rice or even some cash. But one day my brother, she had no one left to ask. She ran out of money and had no one to turn to. She called her father and said, "Douglas, I'm hungry. And I don't know what to do." Dad sent 50 reais, but the money wouldn't be available until the next day. She knelt and prayed to God for help. Then she picked up the bag from the chair and started rummaging through it, digging deep. She found 2 reais, my brother, the missing change, a gift from God. She went to the supermarket and bought cornbread for 2 days. And if you ask her now, she'll tell you it tasted amazing. Mom says hunger brings a very strange feeling. It makes the 2-day-old cornbread taste like the best thing in the world. To be honest, I wish I didn't have to tell you this because hunger is not a good thing. I hope you never experience it like Mom did. But it's an important part of our history. The next time you see her, hug her tightly and thank her, because without her sacrifices, we wouldn't have the life we live today.
10, 9, 8.
In fact, I only learned these stories recently because Mom always hid her pain to protect my dream. I've never seen Mom cry. She would go to the bathroom so I didn't notice. But Mom often called Dad saying she couldn't take it anymore and wanted to go home. But then I'd come back from training, telling stories about what happened that day, the goals we scored. And she saw the sparkle in my eyes, so she stayed. For me. For our family. This is our mother, who always does what's necessary. Sometimes she's the one who fights and yells and says the things we need to hear but don't want to. And other times she hugs us and makes the best omelets on this planet. Whatever she does, remember it's all for one simple reason. She always wants the best for us. Dad sacrificed so much too. A few months later, he came to Sao Paulo to support us and went to Palmeiras, asking the club for a job wherever possible. They had only one vacancy. Dad started working as part of the cleaning team inside the stadium. He always dreamed of being in a locker room environment as a boy, so he went to work with a smile on his face. And he stayed there for 3 years, starting by picking up trash in the stadium and then being promoted to clean the first team's locker room. He told the players that his son would play with them one day. One day, goalkeeper Gilson noticed that Dad had become thinner and thinner. In the cafeteria, the cleaning crew and staff ate with the players, and he saw that Dad was just having soup. So he put his arm around Dad and said, "Hey Douglas, give me your number. I want to call your wife."
1, 0.
Dad replied, "My wife. That's not how it is, Gilson. What do you want with my wife?" Then Gilson said, No, I want her to tell me what's happening with you who's not eating anything. Are you okay?" Dad was embarrassed to explain what was going on, so he called Mom, and she told Gilson the real story. A true story, how Dad burned his hand as a child at a barbecue, and it was so serious that he almost lost his hand. The doctors gave him strong medication to fight the infection, which weakened his teeth. By the time he worked at Palmeiras, all his teeth were falling out. He could only eat soup. So Gilson went out to raise money with all the players and surprised Dad with the money so he could fix his teeth. God works in incredible ways, my brother. Dad used to say my dream is to bite into an apple, and today thank God he can eat whatever he wants. At that time I also achieved my second goal. We moved to an apartment above a lottery house next to the Palmeiras stadium. I could look out the window and see my dream every morning when I woke up and every night when I went to bed. It was beautiful.
8, 7, 6,
Wait, I forgot to tell you the full story of Dad.
3, 2, 1.
Mom is our rock and Dad is our leader. It's always been that way, but there's so much in his story you don't know. If you think it was hard for me, you're wrong. I was born with a silver spoon compared to Dad. When he was a boy, Grandpa wasn't close, and football was also an escape for Dad when he was 15. He left home and walked from Brasilia to Sao Paulo, walking, for a large part of the journey. It's so far, my brother. And he didn't even tell his mother. On this trip he carried his whole life on his back, a pair of football shoes, 2 2-liter bottles, one with water, the other with tang, and some bread. His plan was to try out for all the clubs in the city. It took a whole week, walking and moving along the road. And when he finally arrived in Sao Paulo, he had no money or place to go, so he wandered around, knocking on club doors and asking about tryouts. Someone from Sao Paulo FC saw that he was struggling and gave him some food from the canteen. On a cold night, a lady from a charity saw him sleeping under a tree in the park, and told Dad to stay in a shelter. The place was very comfortable, and it had been more than 3 nights since he had slept in a bed, so Dad slept so much he missed the tryouts for Atlético Nacional the next day.
7, 6, 5.
Can you imagine how tired Dad must have been? Can you imagine spending a week walking to achieve your dream, trying out, and then ending up missing the opportunity? When Dad told me, my brother, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was another night when the sky was raining and Dad had no place to go, so he walked to the Palmeiras stadium and slept under the ticket office roof. He couldn't achieve his dream, but he gave it his all. When he returned to Brasilia, he played in the floodplains to support himself. You know how the floodplains look, right? No salary, my brother. He never managed to achieve his dream, but he gave it everything he had. When he returned to Brasilia, he played in the floodplains just to make ends meet. You know what those floodplains are like, right? There's no salary, my friend, just passion. They play for covering costs when everything is going well. My father played to pay the electricity bill or to buy a bag of rice. As a child, I used to accompany him to all his matches, kicking the ball around the corner of the field. At halftime, when the music played and everyone celebrated, I'd head to the field to play and win a few bets. Man, why do you think I sing to myself when I play? After the games, my dad would see me and ask, Endrick, how did you get that Coca-Cola, buddy? You didn't take it from someone, did you? I'd reply, no, I hit the post and doo-doo won 10 race. He bought me a Coke because I helped him win the bet. If I do it right again, he'll buy me a skewer of meat. That was my turn. Mom said I'd come home with gray legs after playing in the mud for so long. You know how Brazil's ground looks, don't you? I hope you still remember. Mom had to wash me as if I were a pet. Once I was clean, I'd rocket off to play again. Remember what I said? I was born in football. Football wasn't just my dream, it was the dream of my father, my grandfather, and the entire family. Do you think that when my father was sleeping under the ticket booth at the Palmeiras Stadium, he ever dreamed that his son would one day play there? When I was 15 and became a professional at Palmeiras, I can honestly say that I achieved everything I wanted in my life, and I'm so grateful. I was able to buy a house for my mother and move our grandmothers out of Chaparral, which was quite dangerous. After that conversation with my father on the couch, I realized I had accomplished my first goal, helping my family have a better life. But oh, what a relief it was. As a young child, we lived a completely different life, and our lives will continue to change in the years to come. When I was little, I didn't have a mobile phone or anything, so I would borrow my mother's computer and watch highlights of Real Madrid matches since I was 7 or 8 years old. I know you're too young to remember those names, but I was obsessed with the 2013 to 2014 team with Cristiano, Modric, and Benzema. That was my gateway into the club's history. I started going to YouTube, learning about the Galacticos, and digging deeper and deeper. Puskas, Di Stefano. Believe me, in Madrid, you'll hear more about these stars. You can learn anything on YouTube. It's more or less like a university. I watched Cristiano more than anyone else, not just the best moments but also how dedicated he was and what others said about his mentality. I learned from him that hard work is more important than talent. I hope you can meet Cristiano one day. And as I write these words, it hasn't happened yet, but his son follows me on Instagram, so I hope I'll have shaken his hand by the time you read this. When I walked into the locker room and Modric spoke to me. He said, number 9 and number 10. Who knows? Next season, maybe you'll sit next to me. I thought, man, if Modric thinks I'm worthy of wearing number 9, I must be the real deal. I haven't reached Madrid yet, so I don't know for sure, but I hope one day I'll wear the number 9 at Real Madrid. What about goal number 7? I want my own house in Madrid with an office, so I can put up my big board with my goals on it. My mom still doesn't let me put a whiteboard in her house. There's no room for that, Endrick. It's that simple. You know how she is. We have to listen and respect. Actually, I had another goal, but I won't count it here, because it's already been achieved. That goal is to live the life you want, no matter what it is. For 3 generations, or maybe more, our family has pursued the dream of football, trying to change our circumstances. More, thank God, thanks to mom and dad, and thanks to football. I want you to enjoy your life however you want, my brother.
4,
It's my gift to you. And now this letter ends and the future begins. As you can see, people are always asking me about Real Madrid, the Brazilian national team, and how my career will turn out. But do you know what's real? I just don't know. In life, we don't know what tomorrow will bring. We don't know if we'll even have one. All we can do is be grateful to God for everything He has given us.